welcome back to Cinematic Sarcastic, the podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. On today's episode, you know what we're going to talk about. You know it. We're all here for it. We're going to talk about The Last of Us. Now, this is a new television adaptation of the video game. The first episode dropped on HBO Max, I believe, last night. I waited until this morning, so little delay in this review. I waited until this morning to be able to watch it because I didn't want to watch it and then kind of sleep on it and give myself too much time to think about it. I wanted to just, whatever my first impressions were, get those out on the podcast when I could. So I watched it this morning, and I definitely have to say I anticipated 100% coming in and talking about it the same way that I talked about Willow, the same way that I was disappointed by the Rings of Power, of just having them change so much of it or change the feel of it or try and make it something different and use, the Last of Us video game to kind of pull in an audience, but really not do it any justice. And I was very very pleasantly surprised and super happy to see that that is not at all the case. I watched this episode, and though it's not scene for scene exactly the same, and like some of the characters obviously have been swapped out or race swapped, I guess you would say, like Joel's not a cracker white dude because Pedro Pascal obviously isn't. And then his daughter Sarah is being played by Nico Parker, who I think that Nico Parker, who is Thandie Newton's daughter, by the by, she was my only like disappointing moment in this television series, and not for the reason that you might think. I was not bothered at all by the fact that they race swapped the character, because I feel like that's not the point, right? It still had, for me at least, the exact same feeling of that video game as I was attached to them. And it still broke my heart the same way that the beginning of the video game broke my heart. And like, I was crying like a baby. My only like disappointment of the television show, I guess, isn't really a disappointment, but just that I so enjoyed Nico Parker's portrayal of Sarah that I was really sad to see her go. Like, not that I don't think that Storm Reed is going to do an excellent job playing Riley. I know she's going to come into the series later on, but I really enjoyed Nico Parker. And so I was kind of like, oh man, I wish that she had played the character of Riley instead, just so we got to see more of her, because I was sad to see that she really was just in the first, hour or so of the show. Not even that, I don't think. And then she's gone and we never get to see her again. And that's disappointing, because I genuinely enjoyed her. And my, oh my, is she's just a spitting image of her mother. It was crazy how much they look alike, but I'm bummed to see her no longer in the show. Now, for me, at least, I think if you are looking for a video game adaptation that is like scene by scene, The Last of Us television show is not going to be that. I think the feel is there. The world is there. Like, it has all of the elements of The Last of Us that it feels like the video game. It feels like being there. But the characters are just different enough that I would say, like, it's not really Joel and it's not really Ellie, but it is, if that makes sense. Like, it's not really them specifically in exact detail, but it's enough of them that for me, I'm happy. Like, I was really nervous about the casting, just because for me, when they initially like announced the cast for it, because The Mandalorian was so popular, I was like, great, we're getting Pedro Pascal, not because he's going to do a good job, but because he's going to bring in the audience, right? People are loving The Mandalorian. And so it's not really going to make a difference whether or not he does this well. It's just going to get the audience to show up. And that's not the case. Like, he has definitely outdone my expectations of what he was going to be as Joel. I don't think it's specifically like exactly Joel, and I don't think it's supposed to be. Like, he brings his own, how do you even say that? He brings himself, I guess, or a little bit of something that it's not necessarily a hindrance. It's not that it's not specifically Joel exactly, but it is Joel in the way that Pedro Pascal can play him, if that makes any sense. Ellie, I will have to say, I am still a little bit on the fence with Ellie. I wasn't the biggest fan of Bella Ramsey being cast as Ellie. I think she does a decently good job, but she is a little bit more abrasive in this show than I remember her being in the video game specifically. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm not sure exactly how I feel about Bella Ramsey as Ellie yet. But again, it's only been the first episode. I definitely want to continue watching this. Like, I think it's worth watching for sure. I love to see that Ashley Johnson is going to be a character in the game, I think, or a character in the show, I should say, not the game. That's how much this feels the same. I think so. I don't know if she's just doing voiceovers because she's not listed as a specific character, but she is listed here in the cast. So I'm hoping that she'll come on as somebody else. I don't know if she's just doing voiceover stuff specifically like later down the road, but I am very excited to see where they go with this. I expected to be let down, and I was very pleasantly surprised that I wasn't. And I should have known better, because I feel like HBO, even if they do change things, like, you know, how they did it with House of the Dragon, even though they did race swap some of the characters, they did it in such a way that it didn't really change anything. You know, it's still the same characters. I wasn't taken out of the story in any way, shape, or form by, oh, this is not, you know, what I was thinking of this character looking like or being like. I think that HBO does it in a way that it is actually just being more aware of having a diverse cast, you know, where they're not doing it to say that they're doing it to be diverse. Like, they are genuinely just being diverse in their casting, and they're picking whoever it is that is the best person to play that role. And I think that's how it works in their favor, you know, because it's not that I had any actress or something in mind, let's say, to play Sarah Miller, but I think that Nico Parker was probably the best person that they could have picked for her. Like, she definitely brought a lot of personality to that character in the short time that you get to see her. And like I said, it had the same effect on me as the beginning of the video game did. I cried just as much in the video game as I did in the television show. I mean, it's just such a sad, and I was just really sad to not see her continue on and like see that dynamic. I understand that that's kind of the point. It's what makes Joel, right? It's why he tries so hard to keep Ellie safe. But yeah, I mean, I think so far everyone has done an amazing job in this show, and I am 100% looking forward to it. I'm not sure if I will do episode by episode. It's going to depend kind of on how the second or third episodes go. I think I want to give it a little bit more time to see like how they progress with it, and then see if I want to cover every episode. But so far it's looking like I kind of want to. So we'll see. But those are my thoughts on The Last of Us. I would love to know what you thought if you got a chance to watch. Subscribe if you want to join the Movie Nerd family. You can find me on Instagram at Cinematic Sarcastic Podcast, and I hope to see you in the next episode.